So our next speaker who is online is Hillary Kalay.
Hi, I hope everyone can hear me and see me. I am Hillary Kalay. I am sitting in San Francisco right now. I am the principal counsel at the University of California Office of the President, where one of my roles is advising in clinical research. And I will just add, it's a pleasure to speak with you all today. I also believe that the work you're doing is incredibly important, particularly as a mom of two kids, given the lack of pregnant and lactating women in research studies. So first I'll tell you a little bit about the structure of UC, just so you get a sense of it. So I'm at the Office of the President, which is, we don't like to call it the headquarters, but it's really the administrative arm of UC, where UC would do things like purchase insurance for the campuses and the medical centers. So we effectively administer programs and then maybe evaluate risk system-wide for programs and activities of our campuses and our medical centers. So at the University of California, the Office of General Counsel and Risk Management generally do not evaluate individual study protocols unless the investigator or IRB has a particular legal risk or question. So our office's roles are really limited to identifying and explaining legal and regulatory developments and advising on contracts and policy. And UC, like many other research and like many other institutions, also has a research compliance function. So they would play a role in identifying and explaining risks to these researchers and our IRBs. With respect to liability and research, UC has explicit policies. So for our industry sponsor initiated studies, commercial sponsors must agree in their clinical trial agreements to cover all costs of a study. These will include any costs relating to subject injuries caused by a study, drug, or procedure. This policy precludes insurance covering costs first. This policy precludes, exempting things such as the failure of a participant to comply with instructions from the participant. It really is on, it's really, based upon the protocol and did they participate in the study or did they not? And did that cause the harm? For our investigator initiated studies, and those that are federally funded or funded by a foundation or a consortium, they're handled by a different policy where UC must be responsible for the treatment of the injuries, where the study was not intended to provide a therapeutic benefit. And then and only what insurance will cover. So as you can imagine, these issues do play a role in significantly slowing down initiation of research studies due to challenges with negotiations, but we hold fast to them and believe it is critically important. There is a mechanism where, they can get an exemption to this policy, but it has to be carefully evaluated by the chancellor of that medical center and the research institution, where they would evaluate, is this study of significant importance such that the university is willing to take on that? So as for insurance, like many other large universities, we are self-insured using our own captive company, and then we would buy excess coverage to cover certain risks. So this would be something that our risk management office in Office of the President would be doing. So they go to the market, they piece together a puzzle. So when there's a claim, Office of the President would pay for some, the campus at issue that probably participated in the study would pay for some, and then the self-insured program would come next. So it's really like a tower. And then again, in our sponsor-initiated studies, we require the sponsor to indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the university from costs or claims for injuries or damage arising from performance of the study. And then again, very limited carve-outs, except to the extent that it would be due to our own negligence or our own act or omissions or our failure to comply with the protocol. But in all cases, as a state agency, we are not permitted to accept third-party liability. So we cannot accept any faults that could be due to the design of the study or anything else by a sponsor. Kind of legally, right? Pregnant participants, right? The IRBs will tell you we follow Subpart B requirements. As for, risks, we know, obviously there are the risks to the fetus, the medical risks and things like that, I'm sure you are all aware of. I think the Dobbs decision actually complicates and kind of changes the risk analysis a little bit more now, at least how I was viewing these studies, right? In view of Dobbs, in view of changes in laws at the state level outside California, right, there could be not only physical, mental, but even legal risks for pregnant participants and even the researchers actually participating in the studies. Of course, we can rely on certificates of confidentiality, but as you know, they provide, limited coverage for non-agency funded research, particularly registry research. And so there are some gaps in that process as well for addressing these more kind of non-physical risks, but more legal risks. So I'm happy to answer any questions or address any comments during that time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hilary, and we'll come back to you with questions.